Good evening. I'm Eddie Muller. Welcome to the dark side. Friday nights this June and July, I'll be your TCM guide through the shadowy world of gangsters, gumshoes, and duplicitous dames, the regular denizens of my favorite movie genre, film noir. For those of you who don't know me, some folks call me the Czar of Noir because I made a life's work out of tracking down every damn crime film, originally for my own viewing pleasure and now for yours as well. And that's what's inspired me to create the Film Noir Foundation, a nonprofit devoted to preserving neglected noir films for generations to come. One of the reasons I love noir is that it gives me the chance to spend time with unscrupulous, deceitful, and downright rotten people without compromising my own ethics and morals. Our first film tonight is a perfect example. You'd be hard-pressed to find a decent soul among this lot. From Universal Pictures in 1945, it's Scarlet Street, directed by the great Fritz Lang. Edward G. Robinson at least starts out as a decent guy, one of those faceless functionaries who keep his boss's business running smoothly, but only gets a cheap watch and a pat on the back as reward for years of dedicated service. Even his wife thinks he's a nobody. But one fateful night, he comes to the aid of a damsel in distress, played by Joan Bennett. She sees something special in Eddie G., or at least that's what she leads him to believe. I won't say anything more about the plot because it features some surprising twists that manage to defy the constraints of Hollywood's production code. A couple of hints about where things are going can be found in the source material. It is based on a French crime novel by Georges de la Fourchadière called La Chienne, French for a female dog, although I think you know what George was really going for there. The title of the English language translation is also telling, Poor Sap. Well, there's a bit of irony in that title, at least if you believe the Hollywood rumor mill. Some folks claim that Fritz Lang and leading lady Joan Bennett had an affair while making Scarlet Street. Not necessarily a bad thing, except for the fact that Bennett was married at the time to Walter Wanger, the producer of this film. Wanger, Bennett, and Lang were business partners. They founded Diana Productions, named after Joan Bennett's eldest daughter. And here's where the irony comes in. It was Wanger's business connections that got Diana Productions set up in places like Universal Pictures. But despite the fact that he put a lot of his own money into the company, Wanger himself didn't own any shares. Lang arranged it so he was the majority shareholder, followed by Joan Bennett and writer Dudley Nichols. Wanger may have had a deal with his wife to put the assets in her name for tax reasons. I don't know. I'm not an accountant. But there's no denying he was putting a lot of faith in his wife, whom he clearly loved. So much so that years later, Wanger shot her agent, Jennings Lang, when he suspected they were having an affair. I tell you, this passion stuff, it's tricky, as you're about to see. Also starring Dan Duryea and Rosalind Ivan, here is the classic Scarlet Street. Scarlet Street has maybe the most bitterly ironic ending of any film noir, one in which Robinson's punishment is to go on living with the shame of his guilty conscience. That probably wouldn't have been allowed a decade earlier. When the Hollywood Production Code was reinforced in 1934, it had a hard and fast rule that you could not get away with murder. The law had to either arrest the culprit or kill him. Having Christopher Cross driven mad by guilt and living on the streets, even though his art is now selling for big money, that wouldn't have satisfied the censors in the 1930s. But by 1945, the code had eased a little, possibly due to regional censorship boards that had been established across the country. Scarlet Street ran into trouble with some of those boards, as well as the National Legion of Decency, which gave the film a B rating. Objectionable, mainly because there were too many shots of Joan Bennett in her lingerie, the scene where Edward G. Robinson paints her toenails, and the suggestion that she likes Johnny to rough her up. By the time the film was released, Fritz Lang had moved on to his next project, so it fell to producer Walter Wanger to negotiate with the Legion and various municipal censorship boards to keep their film intact. A few minor cuts were made, but after Wanger brought a lawsuit in which the judges sided with the filmmakers for largely technical, not moral reasons, censor boards basically dropped the fight, and Scarlet Street was rolled out across the country. And the publicity, of course, didn't hurt. Up next, our Summer of Darkness continues with a couple of Hollywood's hottest stars. Burt Lancaster and Ava Gardner serve up some looks in The Killers from 1946, next on TCM.
Next on TCM, The Killers, then Nightmare Alley, and later The Yakuza. Cross swords with TCM tonight.